No hace falta el momentazo este de ahora todos sonriendo, ¿no? Ok, pues nada, les digo que pongan Good morning, everyone. I am Beatriz Jordão, responsible for the UN Habitat Spain office, and we are here virtually united to attend the presentation of the VLR, the first voluntary local review of the city of Madrid. This virtual event is organized by the Madrid City Council, UN Habitat, and UCLG, and we will allow to present the key aspects of the VLR. So today we will count on interventions of several institutions that have been part of the development of the VLR, such as the European Commission, the Ministry of Social Rights and Agenda 2030 of Spain, the Joint Research Center, and CREA Madrid Novo Norte project. So the event will also include the participation of the City Council of New York. Thank you so much for your participation, and now I will invite you to watch the opening video from Ms. Begoña Villasís, the Vice Mayor of the Madrid City Council. I cannot hear the sound.
No.
Could you please begin again the video, if you don't mind, so that we can, okay, thank you.
Now,
city with a global calling, and this is the reason we have assumed total commitment to the sustainable development goals of the 2030 agenda from the internationalization area. Doing our best for the planet means doing our best for the people on Madrid. And today we present this local voluntary report to account for the progress in this task, to contribute to the progress of the world on the local level, from the government of the city or Madrid. We have linked our 24 lines of action, 104 goals, and 160 indicators, not only with the development goals, but also with the government operational program for this Monday and the next one. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to this report: civil society, NGOs, universities, business associations, trade unions, and international networks and organizations. These goals, their goals, are not the goals of all Madrid residents. Cutting by half the population at risk of poverty and social exclusion in the city of Madrid. Ensuring that there are same numbers of women as men in management positions. Increasing public contracts award with SMS and the self-employed. Decarbonization, transport, improving recycling, sustainable building, or a great urban projects such as Madrid Novo Norte and the Bosque Metropolitano. These are development goals. They are already beginning to be met for a more modern, more sustainable, more livable city. Thank you all for sharing the presentation of this report. Greetings from the city of Madrid. Madrid is a city with a...
Okay, I apologize for some audio difficulties that we had experienced, but we could hear most of the video. So I would like to give the floor now to Shipra Naranxuri, the Chief of Urban Practices branch of UN Habitat. Please, Shipra, go ahead with your opening words, please.
Thanks very much, Bea. Thank you. And it's great to be here. Good morning from Nairobi. Partners, colleagues, friends, it's great to see the number of participants in this virtual room. Such an important moment for all of us. I should start by extending my thanks and my congratulations to, of course, the Vice Mayor, Begonia Villasis, whose message we just heard, to Emilia Saiz, the Secretary General of UCLG. Emilia, also huge congratulations on the well-deserved recognition from CSU last week. You continue to be an inspiration to us. Santiago Saura, the Counselor for International Affairs for the City of Madrid. Santiago, it's great to see this coming together after many conversations and discussions and commitment together. To all the panelists and everyone who's joining us today. Colleagues, as we were just saying before the event opened, today represents the culmination of a long journey that Madrid started several years ago. As we've just heard, Madrid started the localization processes of the 2030 Agenda in 2018. So it was one of the pioneers with the first meetings that led to the formulation of the city's 2030 strategy. At UN Habitat, we have had the honor of supporting you from that very first moment, and we are very, very proud of this long-standing partnership. The Madrid VLR experience is really exceptional, and I would like to take maybe 3 minutes to briefly recap why this is so. First, Madrid's VLR has demonstrated the importance of having accessible and trustworthy local data systems, harmonized with national and global frameworks. Madrid has been a key champion of UN Habitat's SDG localization approach, being one of the first to apply the global urban monitoring framework for the monitoring of development trajectories in this VLR process. The application of the UMF to the already extensive framework of indicators of Madrid's strategy has been extremely instrumental in facilitating the comparison of 3 different territorial scales: the municipality, the city, and the functional urban area, which basically represents a very important precedent in the monitoring of urban policies. This is new. This has not been tested elsewhere. This is going to be a path breaker for many cities around the world. The second reason why this is exceptional is that Madrid has very nicely aligned and connected the development of the VLR with local plans and policies and with its own city sustainability framework. So it's not just a monitoring and reporting tool for the outside world, but also an entry point for long-term planning and evidence-based policy making for the city itself. The city's localization strategy is aligned with the municipal budget. The SDG monitoring framework is aligned with national plans. So it's also an approach that strengthens multi-level governance. And it demonstrates how VLRs can be the tool to accelerate multi-level governance and the localization of the SDGs. The third reason why this is very important and exceptional is the number of actors that have participated in this VLR process. We have always said that VLRs have to go beyond a report, but it has to be really a whole of government, whole of society embrace of the SDGs. And the City Council of Madrid has managed to mobilize and convene a significant number of external, internal, local, national, global actors in this process. So it's really an exemplar of a multi-level and multi-stakeholder approach. Madrid will be an inspiration, and as I was just saying before we started, this year is very important and this moment is very important for the launch of this VLR. 2023 is an extremely important year for SDG localization. In February, we already met the custodian agencies of SDG 11. We met in Bilbao at an expert group meeting to discuss the progress towards SDG 11. The importance of VLRs was highlighted there. There is a lot of discussion around VLRs analyzing SDG 11. and providing future actions related to SDG 11 implementation. We are moving towards the high-level political forum on sustainable development, where SDG 11 will be discussed in detail. And ultimately, this will feed into the comprehensive review at the 2023 SDG Summit in September in New York. Even before all of that, we have the UN Habitat Assembly in June in Nairobi. This happens every 4 years. And SDG localization and multi-level governance is one of the 5 tracks, or one of the 5 themes that are going to be extensively discussed at the Assembly. So I would like really for Madrid to be present at the Assembly, to engage and to be part of the processes of sharing their experience at the UN Habitat Assembly. Let me also say a big thanks as I conclude the government of Spain for its support, not just to this process, but to the Local 2030 Coalition, where we hope Madrid will be engaged. UCLG is already engaged as a partner, as one of the pioneers of the process of SDG localization. Thank you. Muchas gracias a todos. I wish you a fruitful event and look forward to welcoming you in Nairobi in the coming months. Thanks, Bea. Back to you.
Thanks, Shipra, for these encouraging words for the opening of this event. And now I would like to give the floor to Emilia Sachs, the Secretary General of UCLG. Please, Emilia, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Bea, for this opportunity, and greetings to all. It's very good to see Councillor Saura with us. Thank you for joining, and always a pleasure, of course, to listen to our colleague Shipra from UN Habitat. So many other friends also joining. It is a celebration, when we started working on localization many years ago, even before the SDGs had been defined, we always felt that it was important to ensure that the international community understood that the work that was done at local level, at the level of cities and territories, was part of the agenda, that it was not about the implementation of the agenda, of the global agenda, but it was shaping the agenda itself. And when the Sustainable Development Goals were adopted, this notion of localization of the Sustainable Development Goals grew exponentially, and it has been determined and further defined by what we call now a true movement of localization, where the voluntary local reviews and the voluntary subnational reviews are playing a very important role. Of course, when you have cities of the gravitas and the weight of Madrid joining a movement like that, you see that there is a shift in the way that the international community looks at work. So from our perspective, the voluntary local review of Madrid is not only a sign towards the citizens of Madrid, which is the most important thing, but it's also a great contribution to the collective international agenda of local and regional governments. And that collective agenda, the agenda of the constituency, is not an aim in itself. It's not about profiling local and regional governments internationally, but it is about actually ensuring that there is a greater understanding on how important it is to have a strong local government, the subsidiarity principle, and with the right capacities to implement the global agendas. To implement the global agendas entails local service provision in a much stronger fashion with a different type of investment. And the voluntary local reviews are a critical tool for us to convey this message to the international community. It's also proving a great tool to actually shift some of the policies that had been made at local level, that had been implemented at local level, that were not connecting with other parts of the agenda. The voluntary local reviews around the world are showing how equality policies are put at the center of policies that might not have been so obvious before, such as addressing climate change, but also risk prevention and resilience. We see how the dots are connected, and we have been able to develop a joint language, a common language that is applied all over the world. And this is why we are so very happy that we see an exponential incrementation on the way that voluntary local reviews are produced, but also the way that local and regional governments are being consulted for the production and presentation of the voluntary national reviews. The voluntary local reviews and the voluntary subnational reviews, which is an all-country effort that are increasingly being developed, are the proof that local and regional governments need to have a seat at the table of decision-making of national policies and international policies. So we really welcome the initiatives undertaken by Madrid, and I would like to commend the efforts that have been made to be by Madrid to be active not only at local level, but also supporting the localization movement worldwide. Peer-to-peer learning is very, very important if we want to progress. And I would like to finish my remarks by highlighting the relevant year that we are facing. As Cipra was saying, we have the Habitat Assembly, where the new urban agenda is put at the center of the discussion. Without the right implementation of the new urban agenda, decentralization policies, and a true articulation of competencies of local and regional governments, we will not be able to have the right service provision. And if we don't have local service provision, over 70% of the targets of the Sustainable Development Goals will simply not be met. And this is the message that we want to bring to the midterm review of the SDGs, to the SDG Summit that is taking place this year in September, and of course to the high-level political forum that is going to function as a preparatory session of the summit and taking place as traditionally is the case in July. This is why during the summit, we will be publishing as constituency of local and regional governments our annual report on localization, presenting SDG 11, you know, the cities SDGs, as an articulating force for the rest of the SDGs. And we hope that the exercise that has been done by Madrid around the voluntary local review, but also our efforts to implement localization and to showcase the importance of localization at local, national, and regional level will be a very important part of the program of the high-level political forum. In September, we are planning to convene the World Assembly of Local and Regional Governments, which will be sitting in a second session this year. The first one will be in Nairobi. We will be convening this with the Mayor of New York, so I'm very happy that we will have with us later on the Deputy High Commissioner with us. That office has been extremely important, not only in promoting the voluntary local reviews worldwide, but also acknowledging the importance of the networks here. So a very important year for all of us, where we hope our messages to be loud and clear, but the messages need to be loud and clear also at very local level. So I was very happy to hear Vice Mayor Villasís highlighting how the local agenda of 2030 will be also the global agenda 2030 for the citizens of Madrid. Congratulations all, and thank you for joining the movement.
Thank you so much, Emilia, for highlighting very relevant points. And now, before passing the floor to Santiago Saura, I would like to kindly ask everyone to turn on your cameras so that we can capture for a few seconds like a family picture of us. And now I would like to invite Santiago Saura, the Counselor for International Affairs and Cooperation of Madrid City Council, to proceed to explain the Madrid VLR, pointing out its context and key information. So please, Santiago, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everybody. It's a real pleasure to have you all here today gathered in this important event for the city of Madrid. I would like to thank first the Vice Mayor, Begoña Villacís, to thank also Chief Ra from UN Habitat, also Emilia, Secretary General of UCLG, for their words, their opening words, their work along these years, I would say, and basically their commitment to the advancement of the SDGs at the global level in the cities and also in the case of Madrid in particular. I would also like to thank to all colleagues and partners that are have been working with us or have collaborated with us and provided insights for the development of the SDG strategy of Madrid, and particularly of this voluntary local review we are presenting here today. We have many of these key colleagues connected and intervening today, the European Commission, the Joint Research Center. We have also the Spanish Ministry of the 2030 Agenda with us. We have also CREA Madrid Nuevo Norte, a key private-public partnership for the city of Madrid. With them we have. And it's a pleasure to be able to explain you now in a few minutes the key contributions and the key aspects of the voluntary local review that Madrid is presenting today. Let me for that purpose share with you the presentation. Just a moment. I think that probably you can see that now. Is it working? Perfect. So,
Yes.
yeah, great. So, first, let me give you the context why. Sorry, just a moment. Yeah, let me give you the context and the information on why is this voluntary local review important. Important for Madrid, in general, for the VLR movement. First, we want to share, we want to show to the world, to United Nations, and to all our international partners and other cities how Madrid is committed, working, implementing policies, and advancing towards the fulfillment of the SDGs. Then also we want to make all of that measurable, quantitative, so that we have a good set of indicators that provide transparency and objectivity to the situation of Madrid regarding the SDGs, the yearly advances, and the target we want to achieve by 2030. Also, we don't just want to make a voluntary local review. We want also to bring like a standard voluntary local review. We want to bring innovation, pioneer elements in the design and indicators that are put together in this voluntary local review. And these elements, I think, that are valuable not only for Madrid, but also internationally, as an example of contributions for other cities and for the VLR movement in general. And then we don't want to do this alone. We don't want just to be a product from the Madrid City Council. We have contributions from the civil society, from NGOs, from public-private partnerships, from universities, international organizations. And in the process, we also want to learn from others. We want to provide and receive feedback from other cities, from other international partners, from other stakeholders through this process. And all in all, the feedback and the contribution this voluntary local review provides is very, very important for us, for the city of Madrid, to further improve our public policies, our government actions in the city of Madrid, and thinking that this voluntary local review is not a final outcome, is just part of a process through which we are making a significant step, but just one step towards the long-term process of achieving the urban agendas and the Agenda 2030 in the next years. Let me explain also that this is a part of the entire work that Madrid has been doing to design, to approve, and to put in place all the strategies for localizing and advancing in the context of Madrid, the global, European, and national goals and agendas. All these strategies of Madrid are interlinked and coordinated, and we have from the roadmap towards climate neutrality of the City of Madrid, which is aligned with the European Green Deal and with the Paris Climate Agreement, to the urban agenda of the City of Madrid, aligned with the national European urban agenda and also with the new urban agenda of the United Nations. All this work is adding a significant additional step today with the presentation of the voluntary local review of the City of Madrid. So we have the entire set of strategies, we have the planning, but then we also need, of course, to have the implementation means. We need to gather and mobilize the financial resources for implementation, and this means the efforts from the municipal budget. It also means public-private partnerships to advance the SDGs, as we will see later, and it also means using and making good use of the European Next Generation funds. For that reason, we in fact presented in 2021 the Madrid's plan for recovery, transformation, and resilience plan of the City of Madrid, in which we present all the projects. We presented all the projects that we considered eligible for funding from Next Generation funds from the European Union to advance for the greener, the more digital, and the more inclusive City of Madrid that also is aligned with the objectives of these European funds. So far in Madrid, we have secured 333 million euros of these next generation funds. And all these efforts of planning, of implementing, of funding are monitored yearly with a solid indicator system and with a fully quantitative, fully transparent monitoring system to measure and to demonstrate with that evidence-based basis the progress that Madrid is doing and the progress that Madrid needs to continue doing in the next years. The key previous baseline work, let's say, that has fed this voluntary local review is the localization strategy for the Sustainable Development Goals of the 2030 Agenda in the City of Madrid. This was approved in March 2021. And in this strategy, we localize the SDGs. We take into account the specific context, the challenges, and the priorities of the City of Madrid in this arena. So this SDG strategy was approved by the governing body of the City of Madrid at the same time that the government plan until 2023. So this was in fact fully coordinated and aligned in a coherent and transversal approach of the government and the plan of the city and of the SDG strategy. And the strategy was developed with the participation and contributions from, of course, all city council departments, but also from political groups and from other wider city system actors like universities, NGOs, trade unions, and of course, all their private sector and other organizations from the city. With those 100 local targets and 160 indicators in this localization strategy of the City of Madrid. And now, the next step of all these efforts is this voluntary local review of Madrid that we are presenting today, the first voluntary local review of the City of Madrid that has key innovations, I would say. There are key innovations, as also Shifra and Emilia were mentioning, and novel contributions that are basically those three ones that you see there in the slides now. The first one is related to the global urban monitoring framework. The City Council of Madrid has been working together with UN Habitat and in fact provided technical and financial support towards the development of this global urban monitoring framework developed by UN Habitat, which was in fact endorsed by United Nations, the Statistical Commission of United Nations about a year ago in March 2022. United Nations has also encouraged, not only approved, but encouraged to use this new global urban monitoring framework in the new generation of voluntary local reviews. And in fact, Madrid, within the frame of our collaboration with UN Habitat, probably the first capital city to apply the methodology of the global urban monitoring framework as a reference for our voluntary local review. In addition, the global urban monitoring framework itself promotes using different spatial scales in the analysis and considering a definition of the city also based on the functional urban area, which is a concept that has been also developed and presented by the European Commission and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and also with contributions from the World Bank in previous years. So the functional urban area is based on considering a commuting zone that includes all, not only the municipality itself, but all the surrounding area whose labor market is highly integrated with the city. So moving beyond the purely administrative concept of the city to the functional one. And third, the third final innovation of the VLR is these two detailed insights, two zooming case studies in two flagship initiatives that are happening in Madrid and that we are moving forward in Madrid, and that are concentrating a specific focus in this VLR. Madrid Nuevo Norte, which is possibly, not only in Madrid, but possibly in Europe, and also the roadmap towards climate neutrality of the city of Madrid that we will comment a bit later on. To do so, to bring all this innovation and to bring all this set of indicators at different levels that we were mentioning before, we have considered and incorporated the most prominent reference indicators at the global, European, national, and also at the local level, considering also the indicators in the local strategy of Madrid. This includes from indicators from the global urban monitoring framework that I have mentioned before, but also some of the indicators proposed and by the European Commission in the Handbook for Voluntary Local Reviews by the Joint Research Center of the European Commission, or indicators from the Spanish Urban Agenda, or indicators proposed and tested by REDS, which is the Spanish branch of the Sustainable Development Solution Network that has analyzed SDG trends in the Spanish cities, in most of the Spanish cities at the time. Also, of course, considering not only these proposals, but the context of Madrid and the availability of data and the integration between all these frameworks of analysis in the voluntary local review, this work that we have done in collaboration with all partners like UN Habitat and others. So the results of all this analysis is basically that we have defined 59 targets for the city of Madrid. Each of these targets has one fact sheet, which a lot of information, including everything from the policy actions that are being taken to move forward this target to the indicators that are specifically used for that target, charts of the evolution of those indicators, and overall assessment of the impact so far of the actions and of the target in the sample. For example, in the slide, you have one example for the case of domestic and care work ratio. That we have 89 indicators to track these 59 targets in the voluntary local review, and despite of the impact of the pandemic, which is can be felt in several indicators, the trend is clearly positive. Most of the indicators, the majority of indicators, are moving forward towards the target we have set for 2030, and is a clearly positive result. And despite, as I said, the effect of the pandemic, that in next years will be alleviated as we move farther and farther in the recovery phase after the impact of some of these negative impacts of the pandemic. So as I would say here, in addition to the about 19 indicators that are taken from the global urban monitoring framework, there is also the important issue of analyzing, as I was saying, not just the situation in the municipality of Madrid, but at the broader functional urban area. As I was saying, using the proposal of the Global Urban Monitoring Framework and the European Commission methodology. So we consider the city and the commuting zone, and instead of just looking at the situation in the municipality of Madrid, we look at the situation in a set of 166 municipalities all around Madrid that together comprise 7 million inhabitants, which is about the double, more than the double of the 3.3 million inhabitants that the city of Madrid has. You see an example there with the trends for the percentage of the population with highest level of education, both in the municipality of Madrid and in the entire functional urban area that, of course, in terms of labor market, mobility, and many other aspects is fully integrated with this city in the daily working and functionality of this city. And also there is, as I said, a specific focus into detailed insights. One of those is the climate neutrality roadmap of Madrid. This was approved in 2021 as well. And this climate neutrality roadmap aims to reduce by 65% the greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 compared to 1990, which is an ambition that is even 10 points higher than that of the European Green Deal. So far, we have reduced 23% the greenhouse emissions, so the trend is positive, but we need to intensify that process and that intensity of reduction towards our target for 2030, as you can see there in one of the indicators in the voluntary local review. But more importantly, this is not only about reducing emissions and therefore mitigating climate change, which it is and is important, but also is a transformation of the city that has multiple benefits in terms of health of the citizens, quality of life, a better, more regenerated urban space, creation of jobs, and other benefits that are transversal and overreaching, affecting almost many or almost all of the SDGs, and as such is conceived and integrated in our voluntary local review. Also, we have a specific focus, I was saying, in the Madrid Nuevo Norte, this prominent example, I would say flagship, of public-private partnership, public-private collaboration in the city of Madrid that will allow to regenerate an entire area of 5 kilometers of railways that will be covered, and an entire new district almost of the city will be created and regenerated through this private-public collaboration. Therefore, we have a specific focus evaluating how much the development of this urban regeneration project is improving the city in all aspects of the SDGs, and in fact this is the case, and especially through the new housing units and subsidized housing units that Madrid Nuevo Norte will bring to the city, not only to the exact location where it is being placed, and also the creation of better public spaces, open green areas. This is having a an effect that we can demonstrate in the achievement of the SDGs in the entire level of the city of Madrid. I will not go in more details of this because later Belén Pizarra from CREA Madrid Nuevo Norte will talk a bit more on this importance of the project and these benefits of the project of Madrid Nuevo Norte for the SDGs. So let's say, summing up, I would say that we are providing through this voluntary local review evidence-based, comprehensive and transparent document that is having in fact more than 200 pages if you have the time to go through it. We have these 59 targets, we have these 89 output indicators. The information is very rich and very important for the city to have all this feedback internally and also for sharing with other cities and partners. It shows, the voluntary local review, a clearly positive progress. Most indicators are evolving positively towards the long-term transformational plan that Madrid City Council has put in place. And also have to keep in mind that the Madrid Voluntary Local Review is more than just a monitoring tool. We are trying also to understand the impact of our policies, of our actions, and the trends that we are having at the moment. And in this way, we are also wanting to help to improve, to reinforce, and to boost these transformational public policies, particularly in those targets where it may be more needed in the present or in the future towards 2030. I would also like to highlight, as also Chipra and Emilia and the Vice Mayor were saying, the global role of this Madrid Voluntary Local Review. So it is not only reporting progress in the city or for the city, but it's also providing innovations in the way, the approaches, the methodologies for voluntary local review development, and this novel application of the methodology of the global urban monitoring framework and other elements that are proposed and advocated by United Nations is a milestone in this international leadership of Madrid and in this contribution of the City of Madrid to elements that are also making significant steps forwards in how the VLRs are conducted and produced at an international level. So I hope this is a good reference, international example of some of the local efforts, in this case of Madrid, on translating the global agendas, how they are translated into local commitments and advances for SDGs and urban agendas in general. Just to conclude, I think this is a good final slide of these local and global angles, these local and global contributions of Madrid's voluntary local review. So we are aligning public policies with the SDGs and urban agendas locally. We are mobilizing stakeholders and partners locally to implement these public policies, but we are also leading the advancing on the SDG monitoring and on the VLR production on the international dimension. And also, we are supporting, through all the partners, through UN Habitat, UCLG, European Commission, and others I was mentioning before, the international partnerships, the processes, and the multi-stakeholder forums that we need to further advance not only the monitoring itself, but the actual implementation of all the challenges and of all the SDGs that we are moving forward in Madrid and in all the other global cities that we share our concerns and our challenges with. So it's a real pleasure to have you all here today, a real pleasure to present this VLR to you all. It's a synthesis of the VLR, of course, but I hope we will have the time in the next discussion and in the later days and weeks to go into further discussions and to share and to learn from each other and to contribute in practice to the sustainability of our cities, from the environmental, from the economic, and from the social angles, to make better cities for all, for everyone in Madrid and globally. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Santiago, for such a comprehensive presentation. And now I would like to invite Aissata Camara, the Commissioner for International Affairs of New York City. Aissata, are you there? I would like to ask you to kindly respond to the presentation based on your New York City experience.
Well, thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here to celebrate the launch of the voluntary local review by Madrid City Council. First, let me start by thanking my colleagues, including Emilia and UN Habitat, for all the work that they continue to do to advance the voluntary local reviews around the world, and to also thank them for the work that they're doing to ensure that we as local governments are leading the forefront and that our voices are heard everywhere. It is really critical for us when it comes to understanding the path of the voluntary local review after we've gone through our transition to make sure that the voluntary local review movement is still thriving. As a city, we have always understood that local governments needed to be able to share their experiences, to collaborate with one another, and to be able to really explain to the world the realities that we're seeing on the ground. And so with that, we also wanted to be able to align all of the work that we're doing with the United Nations as one of the bodies where world decisions are being made. And so on behalf of our city, on behalf of Mayor Eric Adams and our office, we really want to be able to thank Madrid City Council for being able to do this work and for putting out a very, very comprehensive voluntary local review that really looks at all of the tenets of the voluntary local review that we as a city wanted to see in these documents. I really enjoyed understanding that this document is not just a report and that there is actual work being done beyond just creating this report and submitting it to the United Nations. I am really, really happy to see the alignment with policy and to see that it is going to be something that all stakeholders within Madrid are going to be able to take part in. And I also I'm very happy to see the emphasis on climate as a city that is very, very dependent on weather, and a city that is an island. Anything that is climate related is something that we welcome. I also am really happy to see it be released right at this moment, because as Emilia has said, and as other colleagues have said on this call, 2023 is going to be a key year for the localization of the Sustainable Development Goals, but also for local governments generally. This past week was the Water Conference in New York, and our city and our administration, we were happy to welcome many, many delegations in New York. We were able to do receptions. We were able to do thematic engagements on the role of local governments in water. And we hope that as we lead into the high-level political forum, we will be able to use examples of the VLR from Madrid and other cities to really show how we're continuing to lead. New York City coined the term voluntary local review. And through this administration, our goal is to continue to collaborate in ensuring that we're really pushing forward the ideals of the voluntary local review. Again, we're really, really grateful for all of the work that UCLG is doing, all the work that UN Habitat is doing, because it is leading us to the promised land, which is a place where cities and local governments have a seat at the table, where we're able to actually share our own experiences. So I don't want to go too long on these remarks, but I have read through some of the parts of the report, and I look forward to taking more time to reading deeper. But this is a clearly well thought out document. This is a comprehensive document, and we're really, really happy that Madrid, you have done such a great work. So congratulations from your colleagues in New York City, and we look forward to being able to work with you again. Thank you.
I would like to introduce the participants. I would like to invite firstly Laura Hagman. She's policy officer for territorial and urban development at European Commission in DG Regio. And I would like to ask you, Laura, to please share with us the European policy framework and the alignment of the different levels in terms of urban agenda that Santiago has already mentioned, the UN, the European, the Spanish, and the Madrid urban agenda. And also, please explain the financial mechanism to access European funds to support the implementation. So please, Laura, go ahead.
Hello, I hope you hear me. Yes, perfect. Yes. I was struggling with the camera. Thank you very much, Beatriz. Thanks to the City of Madrid for this invitation. I would like to congratulate you already for this impressive work done on the voluntary review. I think it's an important achievement for a city of the entity of Madrid that has an important budget, which decisions affect more than 3 million people, but also counting the inhabitants of the nearby cities with which Madrid shares resources, functions, and services. And in this sense, we really welcome that the functional urban area approach is mentioned, is taken into account in the voluntary review. But having a proper strategic framework for sustainable urban development is going to be important. It's important for cities of all sizes. European cities face now an incredible opportunity, but also an unprecedented challenge due to the volume of the EU funding that you were talking about. Just to give an idea, because I don't want to flood you with numbers, 672,000 million euro will be available through the recovery and resilience mechanism that is also very well mentioned in the review, and 392,000 million from the cohesion policy, to mention just the biggest envelopes, because cities will receive also support from from other programs. And here we have a very big challenge to use this funding properly and also to coordinate it at local level. Because both of these fundings foresee large investments in urban development, and we are confronted with this opportunity and challenge, and strategic frameworks such as the voluntary reviews, but also national, regional, and local urban agendas and strategies are really key to guarantee the coherence and the quality and the long-lasting effect of these projects and these investments. So from the European Commission, we're strongly committed to the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Urban Development. For example, in Spain, the Recovery and Resilience Mechanism is funding the localization of the Spanish urban agenda through the development of the action plans at local level, such as the one approved in Madrid in September 22, for example. And these action plans are designed following the Spanish urban agenda, and they're also aligned with the new urban agenda and the EU urban agenda, and provide the strategic policy implementation and monitoring framework that is necessary for what I was mentioning before to properly implement EU and national funding for sustainable urban development. So cohesion policy, going now to cohesion policy, has also a very strong urban dimension. A core objective of our policy is to reduce social, economic, and territorial disparities within the Union. And cohesion policy supports the principles set up in the Territorial Agenda 2030 and in the new Leipzig Charter. So cohesion policy is not only about funding, but also about the policy approach that is very also mentioned throughout the whole voluntary review. We promote integrated, place-based approaches, as well as multi-stakeholder and multi-governance processes to ensure the adequate implementation of the policy, and also support for capacity building to do all this through cooperation at all territorial levels. Urban areas in particular receive a particular focus, and also an earmarking that in the last programming period arrived to 17 billion euro, and in this programming period has reached 24 billion euro that are channeled through urban strategies that are directly managed by the cities, and that they follow these principles that I mentioned before of place-based and multi-stakeholder and level governance. And these strategies are essential to create capacities at local level, generate locally relevant actions, and it's very important that they are aligned also with the urban agendas and with the policy frameworks that you mentioned before. These urban strategies are directly managed in cities, and they're essential to implement SDGs locally with cohesion policy, through cohesion policy, and in particular SDG 11. And of course, cohesion policy will continue to enable the EU to further support the localization of SDGs, since it's delivering close cooperation with regions and local authorities. I want to mention also a new instrument, the Just Transition Fund, that supports the territories that are most affected by the green transition and to avoid regional and social economic disparities, and also delivering on SDG 10 on reducing inequalities. I want to also mention our cohesion open data platform. We break down our investments over the different sustainable development goals. You can consult it through development goal and per country, and also explore the data platform on how SDGs are aligned with cohesion policy intervention areas. I would like to spend the final word on SDG 11 on sustainable cities, where we play a pivotal role in supporting the UN with our 6 voluntary commitments and the technical expertise on sustainable urbanization. And here DG Regio, together with other partners like Eurostat, has been working on a global statistical standard on the degree of urbanization that is called the GURBA, which has been adopted by the UN Statistical Commission, and it's a new global method for aggregating subnational urban data. And it helps to give guidance on how to define cities, towns, and rural areas for international comparison. And it will be supported with tools to encourage the use for wider comparability, better measuring, and reporting on the implementation of SDGs at local level. So just to finalize, all SDGs have targets directly that related to the responsibility of local and regional governments. So please allow me to conclude by expressing my gratitude to Madrid, to the team for this contribution to improve the quality of local development, which help us directly in the also implementation of cohesion policy. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lara. Well, I would like to invite our second guest of this roundtable to take the floor, Gabriel Castañares Hernández, Director General, Director General of Accelerating Policies for the 2030 Agenda of the Ministry of Social Rights and Agenda 2030 from the Government of Spain. So please, Gabriel, go ahead.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. I hope you can see my screen because
yes. No, we can see you. Yes, I would like to ask to please insert the presentation of Gabriel.
I am going to share my
to our team to introduce to insert the PowerPoint so that Gabriel could begin.
I guess you can see the presentation.
Yes, now we can. We are seeing the conclusions.
Yes. Sorry.
If you could go back to the beginning of the presentation, please.
Yes. Now, go
to the first page. Please let me know which one is the first page. Is this one, Gabriel? Yes.
Okay. Now the first page of the presentation.
Yes, I believe that this is the first page.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Hello, good morning to everyone. Thanks to the Municipality of Madrid and to UN Habitat for this seminar about the voluntary local reviews and the opportunity to introduce the relevance of the local government's contribution to the Spanish Sustainable Development Strategy for 2030. Well, as the local governments in Spain plays a relevant role into the implementation of the 2030 agenda, and especially related to many of the SDGs, like, for example, the 11th one or the ones related to education, health, transport, etc. They came into a central role into the governance system of the 2030 agenda in Spain, and also in the drafting and the redaction of the Sustainable Development Strategy the Spanish government developed in the last years. Since 2020, the local entities, the municipalities, were included in the core of the design and the policies of the 2030 agenda in Spain. This bottom-up approach is basic for the localization of the SDGs and for the progress of the 2030 agenda into the country. One of the main actors into this promotion is the Spanish Federation of Municipalities and Provinces, and from our side, from the Spanish government, from the Ministry of Social Rights and 2030 agenda, we started in 2020 a close cooperation with the Spanish Federation of Municipalities and Provinces in order to deploy and to receive all the contributions from the local entities for this process of the Sustainable Development Strategy. The strategy on sustainable development at the Spanish level and national level was approved by the cabinet of the Prime Minister in June 2021, and it was a long process receiving the contributions from the main different actors we included into the governance of the 2030 agenda in Spain. The local entities The municipalities, they had different, in different steps, they had the possibility to send the contributions and to send the main feedback to the Spanish government. Basically, one of them, it was a public consultation with the local entities where we receive over 400 contributions from the municipalities regarding the main challenges, but also the policies and the targets they have at local level along the whole country. This process concluded in the presentation, where we also have the presence and the active play of the municipalities when we approved the Sustainable Development Strategy in June 2021. The process, just to provide a short summary of how it was developed, included a definition of the main challenges we have as a country, the main public policies we have to put in place for the acceleration, and the goals, considering the targets and the performance indicators we expect for 2025 and 2030. With all this process, we identified 8 main country challenges, where we cover the complete amount of the 17 SDGs. These country challenges considers the main aspects of social, environmental, economic challenges that the 2030 agenda brings, and how we set these goals for the Spanish reality, and for the public policies legal frame we have in the country, considering the public policies and all the priorities we are developing at the Spanish level, considering especially the role of the municipalities and the main role they should have to develop the strategy in our country, considering all the roadmap we have to follow until 2030 and to reach the goals we set in the strategy and the goals of the 2030 agenda. This was the main product we presented in the Voluntary National Review in 2021 towards the United Nations at the high-level political forum, where we presented the Sustainable Development Strategy and the Progress Report of 2021. Last year, 2022, we set the first Progress Report analyzing the progress of the Sustainable Development Strategy. In that report, we consider and we included all the contribution of the local entities, having the view of the Spanish Federation and what is the reporting that the local entities are sending to the government to reflect how is the progress and the advance in the different policies in the local reality of our country. In addition to that reporting, to that feedback process, and to all that tracking of the advances of the sustainability in the local entities connected to the Spanish strategy, the Spanish Federation of Municipalities, in cooperation with us, with the Spanish government, with the Secretary of State for the 2030 Agenda, built a network of local entities for the 2030 Agenda. That network was created in October 2020, and nowadays it reaches over 500 municipalities, which represents approximately half of the population of the country. The main works we are developing inside the network is to set a knowledge bank on the local needs in different fields that the 2030 Agenda has for the municipalities, having that dimension of the localization and also the SDGs indicators for local entities which we are already working in the development and the improvement on what can be the best indicators for an effective tracking of the public policies at the local level regarding the SDGs implementation. The results of this will be the basis for a guide for to help the local governments to identify their indicators, using also the budget and other issues that can help to identify where the municipalities are working and where are they dedicating most of the efforts for the SDG implementation. And this is also being an effective and relevant work for the preparation of the voluntary and local reviews for the municipalities. In addition to these lines for the reporting and for fostering the voluntary local reviews, the Secretary of State for the 2030 Agenda is working in the funding of this network, and is also including subsidies to local entities for the implementation of local 2030 Agenda plans. This we had the first program during 2022, and we selected over 30 local entities, dedicating 4.8 million euros on projects and initiatives for the municipalities, provinces, and islands on this implementation of local plans. And this is helping us to know where the main works on local and provincial implementation of 2030 Agenda are going. And for this year, we developed a new program of these projects, and we expect to reach over 60 entities in this 2023. Just to conclude this short introduction of how is the relation and the connection between the 2030 Agenda strategy in Spain and the local entities, I want to stress and to underline that the progress on the SDGs localization in Spain has put in place the relevant role of the local governments in the development of the 2030 strategy and the 2030 Agenda in Spain. This governance we have and the connection with the different stakeholders, such as the public administration and the private and social actors, is promoting the networking and the alliances to develop policies, public policies on 2030 Agenda implementation at local level. And all these governance architectures is articulating a multi-stakeholder dialogue that has inspired the 2030 Agenda since it was created and adopted, and it has to be the path and the way to reach the goals we commonly set for 2030, and especially in countries where the relevance of the municipalities and the policies, the public policies they have in charge is essential to get the targets on 2030 according to the different goals we set commonly. From our side, I want to thank the invitation and to thank the kind attention, and I'm happy to answer all the related questions after this panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gabriel, so much for your intervention. It's interesting to see that in our panel so far, in our roundtable, both Laura and Gabriel have mentioned the access to funds, but attached a great importance also to other very important and main facts, which are the capacity building and the creation of networks and governance forums. So thank you, both of you, for this very remarkable aspects pointed out. And now I would like to invite Alessandro Rainoldi, Head of Unit of Territorial Development of Joint Research Center. Please go ahead, Alessandro. I would like to ask you about the work jointly developed by JRC and the City of Madrid, especially approaching the decarbonization roadmap in relation with the European mission on net zero cities within the VLR work frame. And also, if you could talk with us about SDG localization from your perspective, we would very much appreciate. Thank you very much, and please, Alessandro, take the floor.
Thank you very much, Bea. I would like to thank first the City of Madrid for inviting me to this to the launch of their voluntary local review. It's a pleasure and an honor for me to be here and to share our thoughts with you all. And I would also like to congratulate the City of Madrid, because the VLR is an impressive document, but indeed it's not just an impressive document, it's an impressive effort that hopefully will lead to really understand what is the impact of the complex policy framework and policy action that the city is going to deploy on the global challenges. So it is indeed an example of localization of global challenges. Indeed, we have worked with the City of Madrid context of the roadmap to climate neutrality. I would just take a couple of minutes first to frame our work on localization of SDGs, and then I would move on to the case of Madrid. The Joint Research Center, as you know, is a European Commission service which is intended to provide scientific support and advice to the colleagues in the Commission, in the different Commission services, handling the policy-making exercise from design to implementation to assessment and evaluation of policies. So this is on the context of the I would say localization of policy effort. We have been extensively working with colleagues such as, for example, Laura indeed, and her team in DG Regio on the cohesion policy and understanding how EU cities and regions localize their SDGs and monitor SDGs at the local level. We have produced two handbooks on SDG voluntary local reviews, focusing on EU cities and adopting quite a complex approach to the choice of indicators, not limiting ourselves to checking the lists of the UN and EU and Eurostat lists, but also going in more detail and understanding how also experimental techniques of identifying relevant indicators can actually be used as examples for cities in Europe, and I would say, of course, beyond Europe, to better use voluntary local reviews, not just as self-standing documents reporting to the UN, but also as indeed documents that put together a meaningful monitoring system that would allow them to monitor the impact that their policy effort has on both the SDGs that they have chosen as primary target, but also on the broader context of Agenda 2030. So there are two things that I would like to highlight here, and I think that the Madrid VLR correctly highlights them as well. So the first one is to understand what are the key SDGs that primarily are targeted by the policy effort at city level, but also understand the interlinkages between the SDGs and across the SDGs in order to understand broader policy impacts that might not be visible at the first stage. We are happy to see that also beyond the Madrid case, a lot of cities in their VLR exercises use indeed a lot of science-based tools in order first to assess and to identify the baseline from where they start, but also to identify the correct way to measure, to monitor, and then to transmit back this feedback into their policy. In terms of Madrid, indeed, yes, we have had the chance of working together with the city of Madrid, specifically on the Madrid roadmap to climate neutrality by 2050, which is in fact the document giving the long-term prospects and strategy that tackles issues such as decarbonization and climate change in the city. And indeed, for us, one of the main, the most interesting elements of the roadmap was exactly its attempt to design a local strategy meeting and tackling global issues, but not just as a mere reconduction to the local level of the global issues, but exactly as in order to understand what would be the local policy frameworks and policy articulation that would most effectively meet the targets that the city has identified. And we have specifically worked on a topic that I would call policy coherence, meaning that we have worked on understanding the links of that the roadmap would have with the EU policy framework, for example, with the objectives of the EU Green Deal and the targets of the EU mission for climate neutral and smart cities on one side, but also to then establish a subsequent policy coherence with the 17 SDGs. And I think that the speakers that have spoken before me today have exactly highlighted the importance of the policy consistency across levels of government and across policy frameworks. So from the local level to the national level to EU level in the case of Madrid, and Agenda 2030 as the global framework. And it's not just a question of adopting a consistent mechanism or monitoring mechanism, but it's a question of adopting a meaningful and consistent policy action that goes across the different level of governance. Finally, I would just say a few words on two main issues. One is I'd like to underline the fact that Madrid is not looking at the city itself, so as at the municipality of Madrid. It doesn't stop at the administrative boundaries of the city, but it goes beyond the cities, adopting the concept of functional urban areas. This is something which we appreciate a lot, because it really identifies, I think, the territorial articulation which most fit to understanding the impact of the policy, of the deployment of the policy action on the ground. Functional urban area is a concept that the Commission has strongly, the European Commission has strongly advocated. And for us, it is, I think, our main compass in order to understand territorial impacts of policy efforts and territorial impacts, for example, of the actions of the urban agenda or the urban policy at EU level. And the second point is I think the clear importance that in the Madrid case, the point on climate neutrality has probably the Madrid VLR is one of the VLRs of EU cities that most has indicators on neutrality, on climate neutrality, but also going beyond climate neutrality itself and actually looking at putting together the bits and pieces that would allow Madrid to go through a green, digital, fair, just transition over the next few years. So thank you very much for this, and happy to give back the floor to Bea.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. Well, now I would like to invite Belén Picerra, the business director of CREA Madrid Novo Norte. And Belén, I would like to invite you to explain how the development of Madrid Novo Norte project contributes to the implementation of the SDGs in Madrid, and how this has been integrated in the VLR of Madrid, and what would be the most relevant elements that you would like to highlight, and please, if you would like to switch to Spanish, feel free.
Well, good morning, and well, thank you very much for inviting me to this panel. It is a great honor to share the floor with you, and well, I would like to give special thanks to Santiago Saura and Nicolas Garvey for being an inspiration and always supporting us. And well, I will change now to Spanish for my presentation. So, well, como sabéis, Madrid Novo Norte es el mayor proyecto de regeneración urbana de Europa. Es un proyecto que pretende cerrar esa herida que tiene el norte de la ciudad, que se ha ido generando durante décadas como consecuencia de las vías ferroviarias. Es un proyecto que partiendo de la completa renovación de la estación de San Martín, pues se ha proyectado en un entorno urbano que sitúa a las personas en el centro de su diseño. Tiene como protagonista el transporte público sostenible, también el protagonismo de las zonas verdes y también con la tecnología puesta al servicio del ciudadano. Es un proyecto que tiene un potencial único, transformará 236 hectáreas en el corazón de Madrid, va a generar hasta 350.000 empleos, va a aportar 10.500 nuevas viviendas a la ciudad de Madrid y también va a dotar una imagen icónica para la capital, con un distrito de negocios de última generación que realmente creemos que va a proyectar a Madrid desde el punto de vista internacional. Y ya desde su misma concepción, Madrid Novo Norte se ha alineado con los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible. En el propio planeamiento ya se hacía referencia a que Madrid Novo Norte se había de alinear con los ODS y de hecho, un poco por continuar, ¿no?, con la neutralidad climática, esta normativa permite reducir un 20% las emisiones esperadas de un proyecto con características similares que se hubiera construido con la normativa de aplicación general. Nosotros lo que hicimos fue encargar unos marcos directores en materia de sostenibilidad e innovación, que son unas estrategias sectoriales, unos libros blancos que han definido los requisitos de los proyectos en la urbanización, en materias diversas como la economía circular, la accesibilidad universal, la energía, el ciclo del agua o el diseño urbano. De esta manera, nuestro objetivo es alcanzar los más altos estándares urbanísticos sostenibles. Pero esta aproximación se ha ido haciendo a nivel sectorial para cada una de estas materias. Ahí no habíamos analizado todavía el impacto global de todo el proyecto. Y en este contexto, pues hace ya casi 2 años empezamos a trabajar con el Ayuntamiento de Madrid, con el equipo de Santiago, para alinear Madrid Nuevo Norte con la estrategia municipal y de esta manera se pudiera convertir en un impulsor, ¿no?, que permita, que ayude a la ciudad a alcanzar sus objetivos. Madrid Nuevo Norte es un barrio de Madrid y por lo tanto tiene que representar la visión municipal de la sostenibilidad. No tiene sentido que la administración esté trabajando en una dirección y que nosotros busquemos unos valores diferentes, ¿no? Con lo cual, esta iniciativa ha sido posible pues gracias a colaborar con el Ayuntamiento de Madrid, con ONU Habitat, también para crear pues este informe voluntario local del que hoy, ¿no?, pues se está poniendo de largo. Entonces, lo que hemos hecho nosotros es utilizar esa misma metodología para poder hablar el mismo lenguaje y facilitar la integración y la coherencia en el trabajo. El Urban Monitoring Framework establece, como sabéis, bueno, pues una clasificación de indicadores y esto permite a los distintos agentes de la ciudad evaluar de una forma adecuada su propio impacto. Y para Madrid Nuevo Norte resultan de especial relevancia los indicadores operativos porque están muy relacionados con la accesibilidad de las principales infraestructuras o equipamientos y entonces esto nos permite conocer el impacto del proyecto sobre todas y cada una de las metas de los ODS, no solo en el ámbito del proyecto, sino también en su zona de influencia. Realmente nosotros creemos que no vale decir que somos muy sostenibles, ¿no?, porque lo fundamental es poder demostrarlo y además medir esa contribución con una base científica. Utilizando este marco de referencia, bueno, pues se ha construido un conjunto de indicadores que nos ha permitido evaluar el impacto de Madrid Nuevo Norte y demostrarlo para 51 de las 169 metas de los ODS. Y para dotar de una mayor fiabilidad esta evaluación y siguiendo la metodología común con el ayuntamiento se han utilizado indicadores pues provenientes de los agentes que estáis aquí, ¿no? El 40% de los indicadores proviene de los distintos estudios técnicos de Naciones Unidas, un 45% adicional del Joint Research Center de la Comisión Europea, a través de su guía para la elaboración de informes voluntarios locales ya adaptados a las urbes europeas y el 15% restante de la estrategia de localización de los ODS de Madrid. De esta manera hemos podido pues, ratificar y cuantificar, como decía antes, que Madrid Nuevo Norte impacta favorablemente sobre 51 de las 169 metas. Eso sí, incidiendo en todos y cada uno de los 17 ODS, al menos en una meta, ¿no? Y este impacto se ha calculado teniendo en cuenta pues distintas escalas territoriales, abarcando pues, de mayor a menor magnitud la región de Madrid, el municipio, los distritos, la zona de influencia más cercana a Madrid Nuevo Norte y los propios residentes en el futuro barrio. Y gracias a haber contemplado esta escala territorial podemos ir midiendo la intensidad del impacto en cada una de las metas, comparándola con los objetivos regionales o con los objetivos locales o el estado actual de los barrios colindantes. Se mide de una forma objetiva y científica en qué grado la ejecución de Madrid Nuevo Norte incidirá y modificará la situación. El mayor impacto cuantitativo del Madrid Nuevo Norte hemos podido comprobar que se da en los ODS 3, 8 y 11. La creación de ciudades y comunidades sostenibles está en el centro y desde luego es la esencia de la actuación. También, por supuesto, la mejora de la salud, el bienestar de las personas, la creación del empleo y la repercusión en el crecimiento económico. Sobre el ODS 8 de trabajo decente y crecimiento económico es directo, muy elevado, gracias a su inversión de 15.000 millones de euros o la generación, como señalaba antes, de los 350.000 empleos, que de hecho también se ha calculado que en 2030 puede llegar a reducir un 1,7% la teórica tasa de desempleo de la ciudad. En relación al ODS 11 de ciudades y comunidades sostenibles, tiene lugar sobre Madrid Nuevo Norte y también sobre su zona de influencia, pues gracias a parámetros cuantificables como las nuevas conexiones de transporte, la densidad urbana, los equipamientos culturales, los espacios abiertos de uso público o, por supuesto, las zonas verdes. Hemos podido comprobar respecto a este último punto, que todos los habitantes de Madrid Nuevo Norte van a poder estar a menos de 400 metros de un parque de al menos 1 hectárea de extensión. También podemos destacar el caso de las nuevas infraestructuras de drenaje sostenible, donde en Madrid Nuevo Norte, que es menos de un 1% de la superficie municipal, vamos a ejecutar unas infraestructuras con capacidad de instalación de más del 10% del objetivo que plantea el Ayuntamiento para 2030. Y finalmente, el impacto de Madrid Nuevo Norte sobre el ODS 3 de salud y bienestar es muy elevado, también gracias al diseño del proyecto, que incide sobre el propio ámbito y, de nuevo, sobre su zona de influencia. Este objetivo se ve beneficiado gracias a parámetros como la creación de rutas cardiosaludables, zonas deportivas que mejoran la salud mental y el bienestar, el diseño de vías peatonales y carriles bici segregado para reducir los accidentes de tráfico, nuevos equipamientos de salud o la regeneración de suelos contaminados. Y finalmente, es importante destacar el impacto que tiene Madrid Nuevo Norte en el ODS 13, ¿no? En el de Acción por el Clima. Como nos ha contado Alessandro, la ciudad de Madrid ha sido seleccionada por la Comisión Europea para trabajar en alcanzar la neutralidad climática entre ciudades en 2030 y Madrid Nuevo Norte es uno de los principales vectores de trabajo de la estrategia de la capital. Y de hecho, llevamos trabajando pues desde hace tiempo con la Ciudad de Madrid y Climate Kit para crear un entorno de demostración en materia de cambio climático. Y fruto de este trabajo, recientemente el Ayuntamiento de Madrid anunció que había aprobado la declaración de la primera área demostradora de acción climática de la ciudad en el Centro de Negocios de Madrid Nuevo Norte, el área Demo 360, así como la aprobación inicial de un plan de acción que permita reducir hasta un 70% las emisiones del proyecto.
Muchas gracias, Belén. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was very clarifying. It's interesting to notice that both Alessandro and Belén have mentioned the climate action of Madrid and also the monitoring and evaluation that goes beyond the delimitation, strict delimitation of a project of a city, you know. So the expanded influence zone can cause a much greater impact. Thank you so much for both of you for your interventions. And now I would like to take comments from the audience. If you would like to include questions in the chat, feel free to do it now. And meanwhile, I will give the floor to a special guest from our audience, who is Inés Sánchez Madariaga. She is UNESCO Chair on Gender Equality Policies in Science, and she played a very key role during the process of elaboration of the VLR of Madrid. Please, Inés, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Bea. I hope you can hear me well. Thank you. I want to thank the City of Madrid for inviting me, not only to this event, but particularly and to UN Habitat. I want to thank the City of Madrid particularly for inviting me to contribute to this very important report. This report, as you know, one of the Councillor Sarah mentioned it before, one of the previous works on which it takes some background is a report from the Spanish chapter of SDSN, REDS, of which I was coordinator twice in 2018 and 2020 on the SDGs in 100 cities. And I would like today to put the focus and to highlight some scope for future action on how to mainstream gender equality in the work of implementing Agenda 2020 and the Renewable Agenda, and particularly in the VLRs. Because this is an important part that is already in this work, and The same way as objective 11 is cross-cutting across the Agenda 2030, I would say the same regarding to objective number 5, gender equality, as women are half or even more than half of the population, and women live quite different lives in the cities. So the way that we address key aspects that are embedded throughout the Agenda 2030 and that are embedded in any measurement of gender equality, for instance, by the European Commission in the Gender Equality Index or by the OECD, any other index that addresses equality. For instance, looking at education, employment, political representation, health, safety and security, including during war and displacement today in many parts of the world. Access to secure housing tenure, key aspect in many regions around the world. Access to transportation, care work, both formal, paid and unpaid, and access to economic opportunity in formal or informal work. Those are key aspects that are addressed throughout the Agenda 2030 and the new urban agenda that have very significant gender implications. And as we work on improving how gender is measured and how it is monitored throughout the Agenda 2030 DLRs, we need to better look at how these bundle of indicators are integrated in the evaluation that is thought appropriately in different parts of the world, because progress is very uneven in different regions of the world regarding gender equality. So in future ways of looking at the DLRs and how we can improve these monitoring and evaluation, we need to think in appropriate ways what is the bundle of indicators that is selected, what are the targets that are set, and this regarding to the context and institutional context and social context of different countries. And also as this interacts with another element that varies a lot across world regions, which is planning systems and the way for implementing planning policies. This is something that is very important for the future of gender on the VLRs. And I would like just to illustrate very briefly with a very brief comment to some examples of best practice. I remember that for the first quadrennial report of the New Urban Agenda that we drafted in Granada, I suggested that some Spanish best practice were included from Extremadura, from the Basque Country, but today I would like to mention this practice is in integrating gender equality throughout its design and also its impact statements. This is work that we did. We have
Inés, I'm sorry, it's a bit hard to hear you.
Oh, can you hear me better now?
Yes, I believe if
okay.
you get closer, it's better. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry about this. Is the micro of the computer? Maybe it's not the best.
No problem.
I wanted to mention as best practice, and because it's also highlighted in the Madrid DLR, the issue of how gender has been integrated in a highly innovative and pioneering work in the project Madrid Nuevo Norte. It was integrated in the design of the project from the very beginning with work that was done in the teams, working with the engineering and the architects teams that produced the design. We worked together with them from the very beginning of the design process. And then we contributed by providing technical training on gender in urban development and urban design for all across the teams of engineers, architects, also the finance, the legal, and the real estate teams of Crea Madrid Nuevo Norte. Then it was Distrito Castellana Norte when we did this a few years ago. We supported also the drafted of the gender impact statement, which has been a very pioneering, again, experience of designing the methodology for a gender impact statement of the project, urban development project of this size, and also participatory processes addressing quality of urban space and safety in the surrounding neighborhoods that produce recommendations for specific actions. We produced a toolkit, this toolkit that is both in Spanish and English, that was presented with the participation of high-level decision makers from the Spanish government. We are now finishing up also work that is part of the quality certification of the BREEAM and LEED certification processes that address include workshops with youth and women in the surrounding areas regarding the design of infrastructure, proyectos de urbanización, we call those in Spanish, which are the projects that lead immediately to investment in specific issues. For instance, the way that bridges and land on the ground after crossing some of the areas, what are the implications in terms of use for different segments of the population. So this is an example of great innovation. Some of it is appears in the VLR, and it shows the path for other projects of this size and smaller size, and also for how they can be taken up on the monitoring and evaluation processes as part of the evaluation of the urban agenda. Thank you very much, Beatriz.
Thank you so much, Inés. Thank you for sharing this, these innovative elements, especially in terms of gender of the VLR. So I cannot see comments from the chat right now, so I would like to invite the participants of the round table to wrap up the session with very short, because we are running out of time, but with a very short, like 1 or 2 minutes with a very short conclusion or ultimate reflection that you would like to express. So let's keep the order of the program. Laura, would you like to take the floor and share with us a very small, short reflection?
Well, yeah, very short, because the main message is I already shared with you, and I don't want to repeat myself, but just to say how important is to be able to monitor how we contribute to the bigger strategies. This is a way also in which we can all be going in the same direction, instead of each of us, and especially in particular when we talk about multi-level governance of various administrations working together. We know how difficult it is to work across departments, for example, in our administration, and at any levels, also at the EU level, and also to work in this multi-level governance is even more challenging. And localizing reviews, monitoring, strategic alignment is extremely important to achieve the goals together. So this is, for me, just a summary of everything, and to congratulate you again.
Thank you, Laura. Go into the same direction. This is key. Thank you so much. And Gabriel, would you like to share with us a key message, final conclusion from your side?
Yes, thanks, Beatriz. Well, from my side, just to highlight and reinforce the messages I previously presented. First, I want to acknowledge and to stress the relevance of the local entities and the local governments into the contribution to the sustainable development strategy at national level, and for the global goals regarding the 2030 agenda. In addition, in this frame of the voluntary local review of the City of Madrid, to recognize the progress that the city is doing on the SDG implementation, and in this communication and this example of the voluntary local reviews, a best practice on that sense. And third, to recognize the role of the indicators and the stakeholder dialogue. These are two tools that the exchange put in practice of the indicators and evolution, and the dialogue with the different main groups, social, economic, with the different governance group of the public administrations, is essential to track, to follow up, and to improve the development and the deployment of the 2030 agenda strategies. So thank you very much for this presentation of the Voluntary Local Review of Madrid and the invitation to participate.
Thank you, Gabriel. Local entities, global goals, indicators, and stakeholders dialogue. Thank you so much. And now, Alessandro, could you share with us your key messages, please?
Well, very quickly, I would try to go back to data, because I think that the whole discussion that has taken place shows the importance of adopting a rigorous approach to data, and spending some effort, spending some time, which might be painful on data, but will pay off. And I think indeed it pays off. And it's in the case of Madrid, it is already paying off. To just had a look at the VLR. So I just this is a plea in a way. The importance of evidence and of data is key in order to not only to have good, sensible, and robust voluntary local reviews, but also to have good, sensible, and robust policy effort. And this is the key if we want to achieve concretely the SDGs at the local level. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alessandro. The data is the basis of the VLR. Okay, thank you so much. And Belén, I would like to invite you to share with us your last remarks, please.
Well, thank you. Just to wrap up. Madrid Nuevo Norte es un proyecto con un horizonte temporal largo. 25 años, pero desde luego hay algo muy claro, y es que tenemos el objetivo de convertirnos en un proyecto de transformación urbana de referencia internacional en materia de sostenibilidad. Esto se refleja en la propia normativa urbanística, que nos exige ir más allá de la normativa nacional. Esto se refleja en el zoom territorial dentro del informe voluntario local del Ayuntamiento de Madrid, y esto se refleja en el plan de acción para que Madrid Nuevo Norte sea un vector referente en la misión de ciudades climáticamente neutras. Es necesario, desde luego, contar con herramientas que nos permitan monitorizar y alinear los objetivos que tenemos en común. Nosotros creemos firmemente que lo que no se mide no se puede mejorar, con lo cual es necesario establecer compromisos y responsabilidades, y por ello son clave los informes voluntarios locales, así como la integración de todos los actores bajo una metodología única y coherente como el Urban Monitoring Framework, para que cada uno pueda ir aportando su granito de arena y de este modo alcanzar los objetivos que tenemos en común. En el propio informe voluntario local del Ayuntamiento de Madrid podemos ver el zoom territorial de Madrid Nuevo Norte sobre las metas en las que vamos a contribuir de una manera más significativa a los objetivos de la ciudad, y en cualquier caso toda esta información sobre la contribución de Madrid Nuevo Norte a los ODS la tiene todo el público accesible en nuestra página web, y ahí se pueden ver todas las fichas y la metodología utilizada. And finally, I would like to thank you again for all your support. Congratulations, Santiago, on the Madrid VLR, and we are looking forward to continue working with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Belén. Herramientas de monitoreo, Zoom territorial, integración de actores. These are all elements that are included in the Madrid VLR. So thank you so much. So we just finished in time our round table. I'm happy to say that. And I would like now to start the closing part of the event, and therefore I invite Santiago Saura again to share with us his closing remarks. Please, Santiago, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Well, in fact, I would like to give you all words of gratitude because it has been very rewarding for us to not only to work with so many excellent partners and organizations in the elaboration of this VLR, of course, but also to hear today all these important, interesting, inspiring messages that you have been providing. And also, I would like to highlight the messages that have been really aligned through all the interventions. So this is a very excellent sign of how all partners are actually collaborating, are sharing reflections, and will continue collaborating as we wish. Madrid will continue to work with you all, not only through until now, but also from now on until the 2030 goals that we all have all shared and we all have agreed to advance. I would like to first thank also Aysata Camara from New York City, because I think for us having her words and her presence today as the first city that provided a VLR is very important for us, and the inspiration from New York City will continue to be a reference for us in the future work. Also Laura Hageman from the European Commission, thanks for the work that you, the Joint Research Center, have been doing on the degree of urbanization, on the importance of functional urban areas to address the urban issues and the urban agendas, as we were able to do thanks to your earlier work in this VLR. And also because that's the actual scale, as you said, at which the city actually functions, and we need to address that scale, which is the reality of the daily life of the citizens. And also, as you said, we cannot use stress, and I think we cannot stress and agree more with the importance of the cohesion policies and the European funds for cities and for local governments in general to advance the urban agendas and the SDGs. Gabriel Castañares from the Spanish Ministry of Social Rights and 2030 Agenda, thanks for highlighting all the efforts being made at the national level, the national strategy of Spain towards the SDGs, and the efforts to account for the voice and for the concerns and for the contributions of the local governments in that national strategy. Of course, also the indicator path that you mentioned. Alessandro Rainoldi from the Joint Research Center, thank you, Joint Research Center of the European Commission. Thank you very much for all the key collaboration and inputs that you have provided for Madrid in general and for this VLR in particular, highlighting the importance of identifying which are the key targets and priorities, and how many of these key targets can be, let's say, transversal and have broader effects at the entire city level and the entire city system, such as, for instance, the climate neutrality target that we have specifically worked with you together in this VLR, and also the mention that you made regarding the importance of going beyond the administrative boundaries to move towards this functional definition and vision of the city. And of course, the importance of measuring and of quantifying with a sound basis, and your work there in the JRC is crucial for us and for many other partners to do so in a rigorous manner. Belén Piserra from CREA Madrid Nuevo Norte, I think you have stressed very well how important this transformational project of Madrid Nuevo Norte is for the entire city of Madrid, and the benefits it will have for the SDGs in the city in general, and because it's in particular because it's an effort in which sustainability is at the core of the project, from conception to design, and of course when the project is rolled out through the years in the city of Madrid. I think this is an excellent example and a flagship example in the city of Madrid of private-public, public-private collaboration, in this case for this key urban regeneration project. And thanks for joining the efforts of Madrid in reporting the SDG work in this VLR in such an integrated way with this territorial zoom in Madrid Nuevo Norte, which also, as you said, is one of the key areas for the advancements towards climate neutrality in the mission of climate neutral cities, of which Madrid is proud to have to be part of it, one of the 100 European cities to be part of that. Inés Sánchez Madariaga from the Universidad Politécnica de Madrid, the UNESCO chair. Thanks for your work in general through these years with REDS, with the Spanish branch of SDSN, the Sustainable Development Solution Network, in these reports on the SDGs in Spanish cities, and also with us, with Madrid City Council through these years. I agree with you on the importance of gender equality, also a key target and a very transversal target that touches many aspects of the daily life, not only of women, but also of the entire city system. And I agree that Madrid also has, of course, a clear focus and priority in this direction, as you said in your intervention. Thanks a lot for that as well. So in general, I would also like to thank you all for all your contributions to the VLR of Madrid and for your positive words that you have from different angles provided today on how this VLR of Madrid is a key milestone for showing and moving forward the commitment of the City of Madrid towards the urban agendas and the SDGs, and also for a broader example for international VLR movement and for other cities and for other stakeholders to continue to work together and to move forward the monitoring tools, the reporting tools, but also the actual implementation, the actual efforts, and the actual advancement that can be demonstrated with a solid evidence-based monitoring framework in Madrid, in Spain, and in Europe, and in the world in general. So we have shared global important challenges. We have better tools. Now, through the years, we are improving our ability, our capacity to understand and to monitor and to improve our public policies. We have our collaboration channels, we have the appropriate stakeholders, and we have to work, and we will work together. We will move forward faster, we will do it together for a better future of our cities, of our citizens, a future that is greener, that is fairer, and that is also more digital and inclusive for all. Thank you very much indeed for your work and contributions.
Thank you, Santiago. This is indeed a significant step in the process. I would like to say that unfortunately, Shipra cannot be here in this closing of the session of the event. So please let me wrap up with a few words. Well, after this comprehensive and interesting presentation, in the name of UN Habitat, I congratulate once again the Madrid City Council for this launch, and I would like to thank you to thank UCLG and the participants, each one of the participants, for such a great session that achieved all the goals. First of all, to learn from Santiago the key aspects of the VLR, to receive the perspectives from the participants, and to reinforce the alliances, the partnerships that made it possible. So thank you very much. And finally, I would like to reinforce what Shipra said before, which is that this VLR could be and should be part of the assembly, the UN Habitat Assembly, that will take place in Nairobi in June. And I strongly encourage all of the institutions that would like to participate in the assembly. Now you can enter in the website of the Assembly of UN Habitat. Now the period for presentation of side events is open. So I would like to encourage you to take a look and to present a proposal. Well, so thank you so much for all of you, all of the participants, and have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for Madrid. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.